Hi there and welcome back to the channel. Today I want to walk you through adding textures to your portraits using blend modes in Photoshop. It's not about slapping grid onto a face and hoping for the best. When it works, it adds mood, depth, story. When it doesn't, well, your subject can look like it fell into a concrete mixer. But blend modes are what makes the difference, and I'm going to go through and show you step by step on how to do that in Photoshop. This approach works beautifully for fine art portraits, vintage edits, conceptual work, and even subtle modern looks if you're keeping your hand light, and that's the key here. So let's jump in and have a little look. Choosing the right texture is probably what makes a difference more than most people would like to admit. Let's have a little look at this image here. So this was a very film noir, vintage sort of 1930s, 40s shoot that I did with David Kennedy. And I just had a dark grey backdrop and it's not terribly impressive. But I add in just a little bit of texture and it gives it that real sort of 1940s feel with having the wallpaper print. So that real sort of flocked wallpaper look that you had. So this is actually a piece of wallpaper that I have taken a photo of, and I use that, and I've actually put it in twice. So there's two pieces of it, and I have put a mask on it. So this is, I've masked out everything where I didn't want it to appear, and then I changed the opacity down to about 5%. But you can also do it with blend modes, and I'm going to give you a little practical lesson in that as well. But I just wanted to show you how that can really make such a massive difference to the image. Sure, the editing come into it as well. I added in a little bit of cigar smoke and I gave it a sort of vintage black and white look to it, but having that wallpaper look in the background can make a huge difference. So if you see some great wallpapers, take a photo of them. It is fabulous. Other things that you can use, and I'm going to show you how to use those, is you can use some different backgrounds and things like that. I have a range of backgrounds and sort of grungy textures on my website, and I'll put a link for those below, but you can use those as well. So let's just take this image back a little bit, and I'm going to grab one of my textures. Now you can just go to File and Open, but I do have them saved to my library. So I'm just going to go and click on that. Now it's not as big as the original image, but that is fine. I'm just going to stretch it so that it fits. Because I am using it as just a texture, it really doesn't matter if I've stretched the pixels a little bit. So this has got some grungy sort of colors to it. It has some grungy texture to it. This is a fabulous, fabulous texture, and I use it all the time. I've got another one which is also a lighter version as well, but you don't have to have them with color. You can have them as black and white. So you can either hit Control U, and that brings up your hue saturation, and you can drag it down that way, or you can come in here and do a hue saturation and drop it down that way, but clip it to that layer. So there's two different ways that you can do it. So you want to look for textures that match the mood of the image. So this one's sort of grungy and a little bit dark. Have soft tonal transitions within the image, so that gives you something to sort of play with. And you don't want them razor sharp. You want them just a little bit fuzzy. So even stretching the pixels out will do that. You can, of course, add a Gaussian blur. So go to Filter, go up to Blur, Gaussian blur. And of course, I'm talking a really soft blur. So, you know, just a couple of pixels is more than enough for this sort of thing. So you've got your texture. Now what? This is where blend modes come in. Now on the original one, I didn't use blend modes that I showed you. This one, all I did was I dropped the opacity, and that is one way to do it. However, if you are using blend modes, it can make life really interesting. So if you go to multiply, this darkens your image. It's great for moody, dramatic portraits, and you can mask it off the areas that you don't want it. If you go to screen, this will lighten and remove all of the black tones, and it's perfect for dust, haze, light leaks, things like that. And I'll show you some of those too. And it's lovely if you want to create sort of ethereal or dreamy portraits. The other one is that you can, as a go-to, is overlay. And this adds contrast, a little bit of punch. It's fantastic for painterly or cinematic portraits and things like that. Use sparingly and don't use it at 100%. You probably want to use it at like sort of 10 to 30%. You just want a hint of it to be there. Just a little bit. So let's have a little look at these and what you can do. So as I said, if I was to go to multiply, we'll put that at 100%, and it's sort of grungy, dark, moody, and I probably want to bring it back. Now these textures, if you go in and have a look at his face, it's just a little bit rugged on his face. It's also not doing a huge amount for my light in the background. So what I want to do is I just want to keep it to the background. So I'm going to put it on. I'm going to put it at 100% just so that it's easy to see. And I'm going to put a mask on. Now this doesn't matter whether you're using multiply mode, screen mode, or overlay. You can put a mask on and paint out what you don't want. So I'm just going to go over to my brush tool, make that a little bit bigger. I want my hardness set at 0 because I want to just sort of blend it all in. And I want to change my color to black. And I'm just going to paint out where I don't want it. Now I don't want it necessarily on the hat, the face, his hand. If you hit the backspace button on your keyboard, you can bring up the mask tool so you can see where you have got the mask and where you haven't. So where it's red, there is no texture being applied. Okay, so that's taking that off in the background. Now it's still a little bit harsh, so I probably want to drop the opacity down to around, say, 30%. You can, of course, come in from there and decide if you want to use screen mode or overlay mode. Overlay or multiply are probably two modes that will work well in this situation. What if I wanted to put in some lighting effects or things like that? I've got some of those in my library as well. Okay, so I've gone to the top of my stack and I've turned everything on. This is a really good one because what I want to do is it's like a wet plate effect. So it works really well with this image. So from here, I can go to multiply, which knocks out most of the whites. So it just darkens all the image up. I can go to screen, which knocks out all of the dark and just leaves the white that was in the image. And of course, you can bring that back. So that gives that real sort of vintage scratch and sort of almost wet plate effect, so that the image has been damaged or really old. And then you've got overlay as well, which you can use, but it sort of becomes a little bit muddy depending on your image. So you do have to play with all of them. Okay, so let's have a look at something a little more modern. So this is just a modern headshot, and I'm going to go and put a texture on this. Now this is from my Bon Appetit texture pack, so it's got a little bit of blue through it, it's got some grain, some swirls and other things. So I'm just going to hit Control A to select it, Control C to copy it. I'm going to come back over here and I'm just Control V to paste it. I'm just going to spin it round. If I hit Shift, that will align it. Now it's a little bigger than the image, but that's okay. So I'm just going to stretch it so that it fits. So what we can do now is I can go through and I can have a look at multiply, which does darken it quite significantly, especially on the face, and you can't really see much of the texture in the background. Lighten does exactly that. It lightens it, and perhaps a little too much, but remember you can always bring your opacity back. The other one is overlay, which isn't too bad, but I think I prefer to go into screen mode, and I will probably back that off a bit. Now, something else that we can do is blend if. So if I hit on the little FX panel down here and go to blending options, I can go to this down here for this blend if panel. So I can bring my blacks across. I can bring my whites across. You can also go from underneath as well, so you can have that come through. But if you hit Alt on the little line, you can drag it across. Same again on here. Drag it across so that you are blending it into your image. And you can still use your opacity. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a mask on here, go to a fairly wide soft brush, that might be a bit too big, and my black mask. Maybe just drop that down a bit, and of course hitting your backspace brings up where you have painted your mask in. So I'm just going to go through and I'm going to paint that in, because I don't want it on his face, I just want it on the background. Obviously, if you're getting into more advanced features and you're wanting to put like concrete effects on skin and things like that, you can still use all these blend modes and blend if and apply it to the skin and get far more creative. But for today, we're just looking at adding some basic textures to the background. So it's quite dark, so I'm going to bring that back. I can come back into my blend if, and bring my white in a touch as well. It doesn't need to be a lot to just add that little extra bit of oomph to your images. So it's pretty quick and easy to add a texture to your portraits or macro or still life, even food photography. Whether you want something just subtle or if you want to go something a little more artistic, using blend modes in Photoshop, it's quick, it's easy, and it's maybe not quite as complicated as you thought it was. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you've had any troubles using blend modes, don't forget to drop a comment down below and maybe I can help you out with that. Otherwise, I will put a link below for that texture pack that I mentioned. So if you want to grab that, that'd be great. It means a lot to me, helps me out, and you get some fabulous handcrafted textures that you can use as well. So I will see you next time on YouTube.